Welcome back to Uncontested Investing. Today's guests are Andrew and Michelle Lucas, founders of Lucas Properties, a leading family-run real estate business in Columbia, South Carolina. Since launching their company, they've built Columbia's top home buying firm and a thriving real estate agent team. Andrew and Michelle have completed over 100 deals annually and now focus on mentoring others through the Deal Finders club that they've created. Their journey from managing properties to building an expansive portfolio embodies their commitment to exceptional service and community involvement. Let's get into the episode. Fellow listeners of Uncontested Investing, we've got Andrew and Michelle Lucas here, and I think the best place to start is all the way back with the first property in 2007. Let's get into your story, your guys' background. What were those first conversations like when you're like, are we crazy enough to get involved in real estate investing?
Well, yes, we were crazy, but at the time we didn't know we were crazy because we didn't know what we didn't know. In 2007, you didn't know me.
No,
we met in 2008. So first house was first one I got because I graduated college. And I thought that those landlords that I'd been paying rent to for all those years were the richest people, smartest people in the world. Little did I know that I was wrong. They were not making any money on the rent I was paying. The rent was so low back then. But I said, you know what, I don't want to pay rent anymore. I had some entrepreneurial friends, and we just kept egging each other on. So we said, okay, I'll see if I can buy a house. Thankfully, where I worked, I used to manage hotels. So I was assistant manager of a hotel there, and somebody that worked there also worked at a mortgage office. And they said, hey, I can help you, like, go talk to this guy, the mortgage guy. I didn't know anything about that. I didn't know anything about mortgages. I didn't know what I was doing. But I went in there with my friend who was going to be my roommate. I said, can the both of us go together? Like, there's no way I make enough money. Can we buy a house? And he said, that's 2007. He's like, I don't need two of you. Well, you're good enough, man. Let's go. You just got a job. You're 2 months in. Sure, we'll get you a mortgage. And not only that, he gave us I got some first-time homebuyer credits and stuff. So went in with zero money out of pocket, which, there we go. Completely had no idea what I was doing. Paid too much for the house. Did all the wrong things. Took out a bedroom because we wanted more room for the ping pong table. Like, everything was wrong. And then we met in 2008, and she just was like, what do you mean? Like, what are you doing with this house? I ended up moving away.
you did.
Yeah, so I moved for a job, and then I started renting the house out. She owned a house at that time, so not new to just owning the real estate, but the whole part of being an investment.
Yeah.
I had no idea. My parents didn't do it. Her parents didn't do it. I didn't know anybody else that was renting out houses. It just was in hospitality. There was no like retirement plan, and I thought I would be in hospitality forever. And so that was my 30-year goal. I thought if I buy one, rent it out to students because it was in the college area, 30 years from now, this will be something worthwhile. And that was our naive way of buying a house. Like, don't recommend that. There's so much information, so much education out there now that you should not make all those stupid mistakes. But I did. She was hanging around. That was 2007, 2008. Got married in 2010. And we
put that third bedroom back in.
We put a third bedroom back in.
There we go.
See, she came along. She was like, no more 2 bedrooms. Put the third bedroom back in. And when we got married, we had just that 1 or 2 rental houses, and it was a long-term goal. It was 30 years from now, this will be something. Had no dreams of being a landlord, investor, living on the cash flow, really, because we didn't know it existed.
Yeah. And you talk about the naivety a little bit. I'm sure it might have helped you because right around 2007, 2008, a little event happened that, really put real estate in the economy at the forefront of everybody's mind. So were you guys just too new to it that it really didn't affect you? And it's kind of just maybe the perfect time to get into it was right around then, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You real estate, and maybe you don't know, but real estate, if you'd only lose when you sell.
Mm-hmm.
If you hang on long enough, eventually it'll come back around.
Yeah.
And it'll be a winner. So bought that property, overpaid for it, didn't really try to negotiate for a deal, nothing. And it was October 30th, 2007. And I believe they call the bottom, or when it dropped was like November 4th or something, 2007, right? So it was right before everything came out.
Yeah.
And so the property value didn't really grow for years until after COVID. It just skyrocketed, and we finally sold then, and it was worth twice what we paid for it. So
all worked out.
Sometimes if you don't know, it's okay to go in. I don't recommend it now because that was not really propelling our future. That house didn't really help us with cash flow, with our investments, really at all at that point, until we learned how to make it a business, and then we were able to work on that house and kind of refinance, put things back in order.
Yeah. Yeah. So you did mention there the education, the coaching that's available. I'm wondering if there's any piece of advice that you would give investors that you guys wish that you kind of learned before you got into this. Is it just kind of finding those educational resources, or is there one little nugget or saying or phrase or strategy that you really wish that you knew from day one?
I mean, I keep saying just keep swimming, coming from Nemo. But I mean, for us, it's to just keep swimming. We just keep going. Don't stop.
So the first coach that we hired came through our network from a local community. I didn't really know that coaches existed. I didn't know there was somebody that could help us and show us the way they had succeeded in real estate. And so he said, yeah, I have a program. I can coach you. I can teach you how to flip houses. And I said, okay, well, let's meet. And we hired Michelle. Was like, yeah, let's do it if we want to be serious about this. This was 2015-ish. And the first thing he said to her, which she repeats all the time,
buckle up.
Buckle up.
Yeah.
Because it's a rocky road.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A lot of ups and downs. And if you're not committed to like she said, keep swimming, if you're not committed to see it through, and I'd say it's not like any other entrepreneurial business or, something you start, there's a lot of ups and downs, but real estate, I feel like has a lot of them, and out the gate, because the assets are big. The transactions are huge. We're dealing with lots of money and big decisions right out the gate. And so just keep going, stay committed to the process, and you'll see to the end.
Yeah.
If you can stay in there long enough, then you'll see to the positive side.
I think that's good reinforcement, though. That's something that we get from a lot of guests when they talk about the insight and the expertise and what years in the industry has given them. And, it can get so frustrating for an investor if they lose a lot of money on their first or second deal, right? And it can seem just, oh boy, I got in over my head. This wasn't for me. Let me go back to my 9 to 5. But, those are the times when you're learning the most, you're growing the most, and it's setting you up. Year 1 and year 2 are supposed to be hard. So year 10, year 20, you can be extremely successful. And, it's only that upward trajectory from there. Yeah. So there was an early point in your real estate investing careers where you guys went from, was it 4 to over 30 doors?
Yeah.
That just sounds like growing pains everywhere. And so what was that expansion like for you? What did you have to change about your strategies, about the way you operated? What did that expansion look like?
I will say, for me, as the wife and the mom, we had 2 really young kids. It was terrifying. And just like the whole money aspect, which I know you're going to talk about. But it was really terrifying just because we were 2 working parents with very small children that were in daycare. And it was this like whirlwind, snowball, everything kept growing bigger and bigger. And it was really exciting, but it was also like, oh my goodness, everything we own is wrapped up in real estate. And, thinking back 2007, 2008, like if it tanks, what does that affect on us? So you can talk about the money part.
Yeah. So going from 4 to 34 was it wasn't by accident. And so we talked about at the beginning where those first 4 properties, we were looking 30 years in the future and not really making decisions based on, can we live off of this? Can we use this today? We were given a book from a mentor that actually teaches you how to live on rental properties, how to actually make cash flow and investments pay you today. And it was, Michelle and I were painting. She was 6, 7 months,
8 months,
8 months pregnant with our third. And we were painting a house because one of those first 4, the tenant had moved out, and here we are painting. And if the kid's okay, like he's our third, so he's wild. We were painting with oil-based paint. I'm like, this is probably not smart, right? But the thing is the other 2 kids were at grandma's house, and this was a Saturday, and here we are not with our kids. We kept saying that we're doing this real estate. I was getting, we're going to get these rentals so we can have more time with our kids, some freedom, and it was like, this is the opposite of that, because we weren't doing it like a business, and we didn't know how really. So that book showed us it was possible. And then, you look at Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and all that was kind of before that, the motivation. But that book showed us how it was possible. Then we hired the coach to show us the strategies that help us be successful right away, because we knew we didn't want to learn the slow way anymore, because we had 4 rentals. That was 2007 to 2014, 15. So in 7, 8 years, we weren't going to. If it took us another 7, 8 years, our kids are on the way to college almost, right? Yeah. So we set a plan. Michelle really led the plan, which is her strength, is the strategic piece of it, the planning. But for her to be able to pick up our kids when they go to public school, first grade lets out at 2 p.m. or whatever. So she didn't want to be in a full-time 9-to-5 job. We both were kind of high up in our job, so they were demanding, longer hours. And that was what we said we wanted to do, is get her out of having to have a 9-to-5. And we sat down, we got a whiteboard and said, well, what does that look like? And it was 30-ish properties at $200 cash flow rent each month. Said if we can bring that in, then she can quit her job and pick up the kids, or she'd probably do a part-time job because she's way too motivated to sit still. But that was the plan. So we sat there and using the help from our coaches to kind of put that plan together, we were able to make it happen. And we went from 4 to 34 by the strategy. Just if it's okay, just to share strategy for people. It's called BRRRR. If you've heard it now, we didn't know that's what it was back then.
No, we love that. Yeah. We love the BRRRR strategy.
So we bought to flip, and we would take those proceeds and then buy a rental, and then BRRRR that rental. So we would do a flip, and so the first one we did when that third child was being born, we were signing the contract.
Early in the hospital.
Baby in one hand, pen in the other.
That's it. That's exactly what it was. So the flip was 30,000-ish profit. Used that, put it, and bought a little 5-unit rental, and took that, renovated it, painted it, got some new tenants, some better paying tenants, and refinanced that within the next 6 months or so. So then we got the 30,000 back out of it, and we could do it again, all while flipping the next property. Yeah. So that was the snowball. That was the crazy whirlwind couple of years. But Michelle's an incredible planner. Like I said, the strategy, the calendar was well put together. So it was a wild time.
So you kind of talked about the transition there from like the retailing side of it to wholesaling, the BRRRR strategy. How important is it for investors to kind of key in on that? Because it sounds like there's a way where you can do this very passively, and it can sometimes be frustrating. It sounds like you can make a few extra dollars here and there. Yeah. But if you want to start talking about exponential growth, you really have to like key in and lock in on there are people that have done this before. There are successful strategies. You need to find what works for you and take advantage of it as soon as possible.
Yeah. I'll key in on, so a lot of this part of our career up until about 2018, it was mostly me because we had the 2 kids and 3 kids, and the conversation Michelle and I had with that first coach was he told her to buckle up and me to get ready, but she was making sure that the house was in order, everything was going, and then my job was more flexible during the day, so I could go check on flips and do that. So we would kind of talk about it after the day was over, and you just can't do it all, right? So she was able to focus and make sure the house wasn't burning down, and I was just trying to make sure the money was coming in and the houses were being bought and running through that plan. So what we were able to do with that strategy was flip a house and then BRRRR. It got us to where we needed to be so that one of us could quit our job. Michelle and her foresight.
It doesn't make sense for me to quit my job when you know more about the ins and outs of what's happening with all of our flips and, everything that we're doing in the BRRRRing. Mm-hmm. So it makes a lot more sense for you to leave your job and let me stay where I am. So
and I'm a man, right?
He's not considered that.
Yeah, and I was like, well, I can't let you keep working while I quit and go, but go sit by the pool and drink Mai Tais, right?
Not what you're doing. Definitely not.
So I had never considered that, and so at that point, this is 2017, 18. That's where I learned wholesaling. We had bought everything from word of mouth or from the MLS, and then we actually wholesaled a deal by accident. And one of our coaches was like, "Yeah, that's called wholesaling." Okay, what is that? So I started diving in on that, and that was the game changer. Where we said we went out on faith. Now this was a big leap. Had enough money from the rentals. We felt like if they paid their rent, that one of us could be supported.
One of us.
Yes. So we both quit and started wholesaling.
Let's do it.
Yep. So that became my day job. I would go wholesaling, and then it kind of took off. 2018. So she was immediately with me doing it. So we had a wholesaling business as well as the rentals.
Awesome. Well, we're off to a great start in this episode. We're going to be back after an ad read very quickly. We're going to talk more about investment strategies, family, community. Andrew and Michelle from Lucas Properties, thank you guys so much for joining me. We'll be right back. REI Inc. is the premier monthly publication for real estate investors. Dive into a wealth of expert insights and knowledge from industry leaders and gain valuable regional market insights, ensuring you always have the best information right at your fingertips. Visit REIInc.com to elevate your real estate investment game today. And we're back with this week's episode of Uncontested Investing. I'm joined by Andrew and Michelle Lucas of Lucas Properties. We're going to get into the money-making minute. Michelle, I think you're first up here, and Andrew's going to take deal maker for us later on in the episode. So the money-making minute is an investment strategy, habit, a skill, a daily part of your routine, maybe even an app that you found. What is it that can make you more successful that you can share with our listeners that they can put it into their life tomorrow, next week, next year, whatever the case may be? Let's hear the money-making minute.
All right, so I'm going to talk about an executive assistant. If you do not have an executive assistant, that should be your very first hire or your second hire, whatever point you are, but you've got to have an executive assistant. Our executive assistant, when we hired her, she has changed our world for all things better. She handles our calendars, more specifically Andrew's calendar. He is a visionary in every sense of the word. And if you don't know what that means, look up visionary and integrator. He is a visionary. And when I first met her to hire her, I said, your number one goal is to get all of the thoughts that are spinning around in his head out on paper. And I will say that that's still a little bit of a challenge just because he goes 90 miles an hour. But having an executive assistant has been just a tremendous asset to our team. She keeps us straight. We meet with her every Friday for an executive meeting where we sit down and we go through every single one of our businesses that we are running. So we have 5 businesses within our home buying business and what we do and coaching. So we go through all of our businesses. For the projects that I'm currently renovating, we walk through all of the projects. So she basically hands us a to-do list at the end of that meeting. So that has been a massive just a really massive asset for us. And the second thing that I'll give you real fast is marriage counseling. If you're in business with your spouse, invest in marriage counseling. It's wonderful. It's great. We do it every 6 weeks. We go in and we sit down with a husband and wife, and we talk about everything from what's happening in our home life to the things that are happening in our business world. And they have been so helpful in helping our marriage strengthen and also help us to not kill each other by giving us tools and tips for helping us to work best together, both at home but also in our business.
Andrew, that's going to be a tough act to follow for the deal breaker, deal maker. Thank you for that. Thank you for that, Michelle. So one of the things that I want to talk about with that answer that it would be important for investors to hear is kind of letting other people in, right? A lot of people can, tend to have too much control over a situation. They're worried about managing other people, letting in other people and making decisions with them. Can you guys talk about any hesitation that you had before you hired that executive assistant and, just kind of get any people's notions of how that could hurt them just out of the way right now?
Yeah, I think, was it Tom Kroll that recommended hiring an executive assistant to begin with? But I was doing the role of calling everybody back. We do mailings. So I was calling everybody back, but then I also felt like I was also doing this executive assistant role. And either I heard it from Tom or from somebody else that literally said, your first hire should be an executive assistant. And I was like, yes, we need one of those. And she came through a friend at church, and she was very bubbly and had a lot of energy. And I thought, this girl, I don't know how smart she is, but she seemed like she could handle a lot of different things, which is what an executive assistant does for us. And she just does a lot of things, and we had to be comfortable with her from the get-go. And I think in the beginning, we would sit down and say, okay, the things that we say in this meeting, like the Friday meeting we do with her, the things that we say in this meeting are for the three of us. They don't go outside of our walls. And she got that pretty quickly and was like, oh, yeah, absolutely. But, I mean, the level of, the circle of trust, she is in that circle of trust. I mean, she had the code to our house, and, she'd pick up our kids from school if we were in a meeting or something. But she got our trust really quickly. And I think, if you can gauge that in somebody to know that they are a trustworthy person, that you can just, bring them in. And also just don't be afraid to say you're in the circle of trust, you're in here.
Yeah, I would say that there was a lot of hesitation for me because I'm thinking, oh, this person, I got to teach them real estate. I got to show them how to do all this, blah, blah, blah. And it's going to be work on me. But the fact is that they don't need to know anything about your business. And probably it's better if they don't, right? It's more of can they organize, and can they be flexible enough to work with an entrepreneur brain? I'm all over the place. So we needed somebody, and this is for Michelle, just trying to find the right fit of a person, someone that can handle that and thrives in that environment of, yes, you kind of have the same tasks each day, but every day is completely different. You can't sit at your desk and just, punch away on the keyboard. So looking for that type of person, and going to what Michelle was saying with the trust, if someone gives you a reason not to trust them early, you got to cut them loose and go find the next person, because there is someone out there that can be your executive assistant that you can trust. And it's better to have that person be fully trustworthy, more than being capable to use Gmail.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Excel
for sure.
Excel, yes.
Yeah.
We had to teach her. I mean, she's younger, right? So we grew up doing Excel spreadsheets and PowerPoints, and I just don't think that's what they do necessarily in college, right? So, well, I guess because she's all Mac. I don't know what it is. But anyway, we're teaching some of this stuff. But it's okay, because we have someone that we can trust and can help us in the business.
Yeah, so you talk about that trust within the business, but another place where that is very important is the trust within the community. You guys have done a good job carving out some of the market share in Columbia, South Carolina. Can you just talk about how important that community has been for you, and what are some of the advantages, not just in Columbia, South Carolina, but for entrepreneurs and investors nationwide to really key in on the local aspect of it and kind of attack and maybe dominate is the wrong word to associate with the community, but really be an expert in your local market?
Yeah, this for us started back. So I used to manage hotels, and when I was managing hotels, before I quit, I was on the state association for hospitality. I was appointed by the governor to Emergency Housing Coalition. I was connected with other associations, hotels, restaurants, tourism, all of that. And when I was leaving and going into real estate, I realized there was nothing. I didn't know anybody. There was no community. There was no network. When I was in hospitality and I was in those positions, I knew that I could pick up the phone and ask questions. I knew that if there was a deal coming to town, a big event, something, we had a shot at it. We knew what was coming. We were looking to hire people. It was easy because we could ask our community. When we were going out full-time into real estate, Michelle and I were like, there's nobody here.
There's nothing. Yeah.
So we started a meetup where it was about 20 of us just coming together and started sharing, experiences. That's where we hired our first couple of coaches. They were coaching us, even though we started the meetup. They were coaching us on how to do real estate, because it wasn't about that. It wasn't about being the teacher. It was about being in the community and getting to know what's happening, getting word of mouth, what's moving over here, what's moving over there. So that's where all that started.
Yeah.
And now,
like our community, we see Andrew does a really good job at our live. We have several opportunities within the month for everybody to get together. And one of those is a teaching opportunity. And he takes a few minutes within that meeting and says, okay, everybody get up and go talk to somebody that you haven't talked to yet and make connections.
Yep.
And we've seen several people within our community that have made connections that have catapulted their businesses, which has been really exciting for us. So it's not only helped our business and, referrals and finding properties through people who've come to our meetups, but then also seeing people who are coming to our meetups that their businesses are now taking off,
that's so great. Yeah.
Cool.
In the beginning, I was just telling somebody that in the beginning, we kind of started it because we wanted deals to come our way. We wanted to be the center, kind of the hub of the community, because the deals would show up. And that has happened. It's been great. It's a great benefit for anybody thinking about doing that. But beyond that, it's the connections. It's the people we've met. It's the vendors, the partners we've made. It's become way more than what we thought it would. And anybody, wherever you are, if you're doing a business, you should be connected with the local people doing it. The same thing. Yeah.
So the second part of that great money-making minute was the marriage counseling and the advice for people that are trying to blend owning a business with a marriage and a family. I would like to hear your insight on that too, Andrew. Maybe if it's your opinion on what marriage counseling has done for you guys, or if there's another layer or another piece of advice that you would give to people out there that are trying to do both at the same time, two very tough jobs to manage.
Absolutely. So I said before, when we were in that hustle season, it was mostly me doing the business before work, at lunch, after work, and then Michelle and the kids. Basically, I'd say goodnight to all of them, and then I'd go back downstairs and work till 2:00 in the morning. That was good for the business, not great for the marriage, for the family, right? So I didn't see that. Maybe she saw it. I didn't see it growing into being an issue. And then all of a sudden it was an issue because we weren't communicating. We weren't talking about, hey, you're not here, your energy's not there, you're spending your time looking at deals versus, coming to bed at a reasonable hour, And I would literally get home just in time to eat the supper Michelle had made with the kids, spend an hour putting them to bed, and then everyone was asleep, So that right after that is when we went into counseling and started talking to somebody and really opening up being vulnerable with what was important to me, to her, and to us in the context of our marriage, because there is no business without the marriage.
Yep.
We've seen lots of marriages and businesses fail because of that,
Yep.
right? And so that was the cornerstone. That was where it was. It wasn't going to marriage counseling because we wanted a better business. It's because we wanted to stay married and have a really awesome family.
Yeah.
Because we were doing all this because we said, verbally, we're doing this for the family. But over time, it turned into the actions weren't for the family. The activity and stuff was for the business. And so coming together, having, marriage counseling, their counselors, coaches, a space where it's not business, but we're free to talk. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So for me, and a lot of times we go in there and I'll just sit on the couch and yes, there's a couch. I'll sit on the couch and we'll just breathe and look at each other and say, gosh,
we look at each other and go, hi.
Yeah, we haven't seen each other.
Yeah.
And we work this close. We're in the same office.
Mm-hmm.
But you can't be husband and wife at work all the time. Right? You have to work. Yeah. And we can go days where we're working and we forget to look up and say, hey, how was lunch? You had lunch with your friend. How was it? So having that at least, every 6 weeks, that check-in, that time to really break it down. And yes, we will have times where we're like at each other.
Yeah.
Mostly she's mad at me. I don't ever get mad. But so we will go in there and hash through stuff. So any husband, wife, any couple that's in business together, we recommend. I always say, go.
That's great.
Do it.
It's great because it's showing that dedication. You're blocking out, like you said, that period of time where it's, okay, we're coming together and we're actually communicating like husband and wife, right? You're making sure that you're dedicating. You're not weaving in and out of conversations where it's, okay, let's be husband and wife for the morning. Yeah. And we've got that meeting where we have to be coworkers. So I'll be husband and wife to get lunch. Yeah, so that's great. That's great. So believe it or not, 2025 is right around the corner. So are there any investment opportunities maybe that you're gearing up to take advantage of in 2025? Or if not, maybe a specific strategy. There is a unique way that you go about kind of taking the year as a review, using that to plan and a springboard for 2025. If you want to share either of those strategies or what you do to be successful when the year starts.
Yeah, so we do because, again, Michelle is the planner. So we will sit down at the end of the year and we go through the numbers of what did it look like? How was it? Did we like this? Did we hate this? Did we make any money? So we do that. And then we strategize for the next year. We are looking to 2025, which is crazy. But today, as I was just talking about, the BRRRR strategy, buying a house, renovating a house, renting it out, and then refinancing it, is back. And it went away when the interest rates went up. It was harder to do.
Yeah.
The interest rates are coming way down, and investor loans are back where they made this very, very affordable. So we're looking at that. Specifically for our business, what 2025 looks like is going for a small, under 50 unit apartment complex that we can manage within our own team. We have a property manager on our team. So that's what we're looking for specifically. Not everybody would need that yet, but using the BRRRR strategy, we would do the same BRRRR strategy for that. I think it's back. I think it requires you to learn a little bit. Don't just take YouTube advice to do it. Get some specialized education on your local market or whatever market you're in to do the BRRRR. But right now it's back.
Awesome. Yeah. All right. I think if we're talking about closing loans and then the BRRRR strategy, it's a perfect segue into the deal breaker, deal maker. Yeah. So Andrew, you're on the clock now. Deal breaker, deal maker. For you, when you talk about investment properties and closing loans, what do you think is a deal breaker that causes deals to break down? And conversely, what do you think is a deal maker? What causes deals to get across the finish line and be able to succeed on a repetitive basis?
So deal maker, deal breaker. This is maybe something you never heard here before. Hopefully this is new for you. Communication for the beginning of a deal all the way to the end of a deal is going to make it or break it. And what do I mean by that? When you get a good deal, especially if it's at a discount, that seller is needing you to close. There could be things that happen in their life on any given day that could cause them stress, second guess what's happening. And there could be things that happen in your life that go to the same. So communication between buyer and seller, buyer agents, whoever it is, the loan officer, the attorneys, that keeps the deal together because people don't second guess. People don't get nervous. They don't stress out to say, is this going to happen or not? And that keeps your deals together. And if there's something that comes up and you need a reduction in price or you need time or whatever, that communication is crucial, because if they feel like you're being honest and truthful because you've been so far, then those tough conversations become easier. On the other side, making sure the deals that break, the deals that in our experience in our business that break down, are the deals that we didn't know what was happening. We didn't have the heads up. We didn't have communication. I know when we're trying to buy something and an agent goes silent or a buyer goes silent or a seller goes silent, we know we have a problem. And we just signed a deal before we came here where we looked at each other and we said, you know what, I don't think this deal is going to make it because the communication between this agent and us is not great. So keeping lines of communication open, doing it more than you think necessary is important so that when it becomes a hard conversation, it makes it easier. So communicate.
That was a great answer. I think that's a tie there. We can call that one a tie. That was very good, Andrew.
Yes.
Communication seems to be a common theme for you guys, whether it's between you two, other people in your business, marriage counseling, coaches that you've had. So that's one thing that I want to talk about as well, because there can be a negative stigma surrounding real estate coaches or people in the industry that, maybe they're charging money for a strategy or a plan or whatever the case may be. People are a little bit weary of that. Can you talk about your experience with the coach and how much you would recommend other investors take advantage of that?
Absolutely. And yes, there is definitely a stigma because most of it's on YouTube or TikTok, and they got their Lamborghini and they're like, buy my course, right? That's not what I'm talking about. We say coaches and people we've hired people that have done what we are trying to do. They are a step, maybe 2 steps ahead of us, and they have figured out all the pitfalls. They've gone over all the hurdles, the speed bumps, because as you said, as we talked about earlier, we wanted to get from 4 to 34 rentals in 2 years. We didn't have time to figure it out. We didn't have time to mess up. We didn't have time to trip over a hurdle, make a bad deal. So we paid for someone else's experience to help us get through. It's no different than tuition, right? When you go to college, you want to learn calculus, college, right? So you pay for someone to teach you that, right? You don't have to do it on your own. That's the way we look at it, and that's what it's done for us. It's speed.
Yep.
It's just getting through it faster, and there's a lot to be said for figuring out what you do want, but really what you don't want, because real estate is so big and broad. There's so many opportunities that you can get lost in opportunity and never actually get in deep enough to the one good opportunity.
Yeah, when you break it down like that, it makes a lot of sense, right? It's the investment in your future, right? Why stop after college, right? If there's next level of your life or your professional career that you want to get to, there's people out there that can help you do it. So you touched on this earlier a little bit with the Deal Finders Club that you guys created in South Carolina, but the reason that we're here today is because of Family Mastermind, the convention happening in Tampa this weekend. So I would like it if you guys could just take a moment to talk about your experience at Family Mastermind, what this community has done for you, and then networking as a whole, right? How important networking can be in terms of a leg up on the competition or advantage or getting to that next level like we've been talking about.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I just think the connections, being able to meet people from all over the country that do something similar to what we do. Not everybody does all the things that we do, but like making a connection of, oh, you're a house flipper, oh, you're a wholesaler, oh, you're a coach, and being able to compare notes and figure out what are you doing that I'm not doing, or what am I doing that you're not doing, and figure out like, okay, what is the next thing for us? And I think about Roddy, who's up in Chicago, is that right? Who's able to help us with a coaching student who had a flip in Chicago but was stuck on it. And he was able to reach out to Roddy to say, hey, can you help us get this project to the finish line for this new client that we have?
That's awesome.
Really cool.
And she talked about executive assistant for some of the people. So she was able to serve some other people here in family with just sitting down next to people that are in totally different market spaces, but very similar. We all are struggling with the same thing.
Yeah.
At different points in time. And so she gave that speech. They went and got an executive assistant. Now,
game changer.
Yeah. So that, I think they owe you dinner probably. But yeah, for me, it's the same thing. It's getting connected to people, again, that are doing the same things, similar things. But not only that, it's what's coming around the corner, right? 2025. What's happening out there? What's coming around? Because when you come together in a group like this with people from all over, their markets there might be ahead. They might see the changing coming before we do. There's other people here that are just genius. They're just super smart people. Yeah. And then when they share, I'm like, oh my gosh, all this AI stuff. I'm like, what is happening? So there's those things. I will give the word of caution that if you're like me, if you're the entrepreneurial visionary, all these are great ideas. Bring your integrator, bring your wife, somebody. Michelle is that for me, where she says, let's write all these great things down, these cool ideas down. We can't do them all tomorrow.
Yeah.
Let's pick one that we can get, that will move the needle in our business. Let's do that. And then we'll revisit those other things if necessary.
So we're at the point in the episode where I like to ask everybody about a passion project, something that they do outside of real estate investing. And we joked before the interview because I had a suspicion that it would probably be family for you guys. I don't know if there's time for much else, but if it is family, that's a completely acceptable answer. You wouldn't be the first person to talk about how much that family can center you, bring you back down to earth, ground you before you step back into business. But is there anything else that you guys are working on, or is it family that really helps you refresh, recharge, and makes you better at Lucas Properties?
I mean, we kind of talked about this briefly. Yes, our family, yes, but we're also very involved in our church at home in Columbia. I help lead our women's ministry there, and that is a large undertaking. So I have an amazing team of women that we work with. So that's a really great opportunity that I have, and Andrew is one of the teachers for our Sunday school class, which is fun. So what else would you say?
I was going to just go with the family because we design kind of our off time around the family. We're going to go to New Mexico, for a week. She's on the way here. She's like, where are we going for fall break? It's the kids' fall break. Like, we don't have to go anywhere, right? We're going, but for the kids, we try to go somewhere. Last year was like Boston, just to travel and take the kids, let them experience new things, but us be together as well. And then, I enjoy coaching soccer and baseball and basketball. And so that's kind of where our free time,
we're not bored.
Free time is. We typically, we stay active. She went camping for the first time. Now she's all in.
Oh,
so that's where we're going.
Did you have your first s'more?
We have s'mores on the regular at our house, but we had what is it? We had some kind of chili by campfire.
Oh, there we go. Yeah,
that was amazing.
Yeah. So now she's all in on camping. I got a new tent. We're getting
as long as there's plumbing nearby.
Yeah. The campgrounds, of course. Can't just go out in the middle of anywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Gotta go to the designated camp. All right. All right. Well, this has been a great episode. I think the last thing to do, you guys have talked about so many different ways that you're in this industry. You found a formula that's really successful for you and your family. So congratulations on all the success. But I'm sure there's some listeners out here that want to follow up with you, learn more about what you guys are doing, how you can help people out there. So are there any ways, websites, social media, training, mentoring? How can people find you, and what's the best way to do so?
I would say dealfindersclub.com is the best place to just kind of go. There's a connect button there, but social media,
You're the Andrew R. Lucas.
The Andrew R. Lucas,
Okay.
Instagram, Facebook. What about you?
Michelle C. Lucas.
C is SE.
S-E-A-Y.
You could tell how much I'm on there. But yeah. So yeah, reach out, and anybody that's in South Carolina, look, we're in Columbia, so you can drive in. All of the events we host are free.
Meetup.com.
Yeah, we're on the meetup sites and stuff like that. So,
Well, as I mentioned, I really appreciate the time. For Uncontested Investing listeners out there, it is possible. You can have a family and a successful business. Andrew and Michelle Lucas are a testament to that. Thank you so much for stopping by. To our Uncontested Investing listeners, we'll see you in the next one.
Thanks for listening to the REI Deal Finders podcast. You can find out more and apply to be a part of the REI Deal Finder community at reidealfinders.club.